A believer with gluten intolerance can rightfully avoid receiving communion under the species of bread, given that the substance of the bread is no longer present. It is not a lack of faith on his part. Aquinas argues that once the Eucharist is present after transubstantiation, what is present can nourish an individual. If someone were to eat a large number of hosts, he would be nourished. Similarly, someone who drinks a large amount of the precious blood would become inebriated. Because of this, someone with gluten intolerance would be affected by receiving the Eucharist. Aquinas wants to answer why this is the case. He examines each of the possibilities and concludes with what is truly the most direct and easiest explanation of the Eucharistic reality. He concludes that the accidents are given the power to produce effects as if their underlying substance remained. Aquinas does not believe that the substance of the body and blood of Christ can nourish. Aquinas argues that the fact that the accidents remain is not a sufficient answer for why someone with gluten intolerance would be affected by receiving the Eucharist under the host. The accidents themselves do not have an effect. They only produce an effect on account of the underlying substance. Substances produce effects proper to that substance. In addition, one could not argue that the substance of Christ's body is present alongside the substance of the bread. This explanation would fall under the error of consubstantiation. Christ, at the Last Supper, says, "This is my body," and not, "This bread is my body." If we trust Christ's words, then we must believe that the substance of bread is no longer present. Also, one could not argue that it is not the continuing presence of the substantial form of bread that causes nourishment. Nourishment is based principally on the substantial form. When I eat bread, its substantial form is united to the substantial form of my body, and that is what causes nourishment. In the Eucharist, the substantial form of the bread is not present. Finally, one could not argue that there is a return of the bread when the host is consumed. In the Eucharist, the bread is changed into Christ's glorified body, which is immutable. Because of its immutability, the substance of Christ's body cannot be changed into bread. This argument would also imply consubstantiation. Aquinas argues that in transubstantiation, the bread is converted into the body of Christ, but the accidents of the bread remain. The accidents of the bread are miraculously given the ability to act like substances. It is the divine power that sustains the accidents of bread and wine after transubstantiation. Since the accidents remain intact after transubstantiation, they can act upon the one receiving them in the same way as the substance of bread and wine would if they were present. This causes them to produce the effects that they would have produced had the substance of the bread remained present. The accidents of the bread are the basis of the host being converted into another substance. The ability for the accidents of the bread to miraculously act like substances allows the bread to change into a new substance, but still nourish the one who eats the host. Aquinas argues that the person with gluten intolerance, who is only receiving from the precious blood, is not missing out on receiving any of Jesus Christ. The whole Christ is present in both Eucharistic species because of real concomitance. The body, soul, and divinity of Christ is present in the precious blood, along with the blood of Christ, because it is connected to Christ's blood. Christ's body, soul, and divinity are connected to Christ's blood. Christ's body is made really, truly, and substantially present as he truly is and exists with his glorified, immutable body in the precious blood.